All right, we got Sam and Trevor here. We're going to be talking about meetings to dates to, the time frame from the time you initiate contact with somebody to the time of the end of the first date. Really pivotal time. There's a lot of what to do, what not to do, and a lot of it's based on the quality of the interaction that you're having. Sam and I have some wildly different opinions on how this should be executed. I think Sam has a lot more traditional structure on how he likes to do things, but at the same time not. So, Sam, what do you do? How do you open? Because it's all, from the second you open, you match, you meet, you pick up somebody in the grocery store. You have that, flirty interaction. How do you open? Give me your from the gate answer.
Going from the grocery store is different. I've been in the online world for a long time, but any interaction that I'm having, I already have a first date in mind. I'm not gonna talk to you and just chit chat. I have a very clear end goal.
What is it?
Well, at least a first date.
Oh,
so I'm not gonna start a conversation.
PG answer.
I'm not gonna start a conversation in the gym just to say hi. I'm gonna start a conversation with you in the gym to get out and get a drink.
See, I play an entirely different game. I've got a long game in mind where I thrive on the interaction. So and a lot of it is checking the quality of the person and how much they might or might not suck. So from that get-go, I want to be talking to you and I want to be checking the quality of the interaction. Because if you can't talk to me worth a fuck, I don't want the date. You go into it with the date in mind.
I need to interrupt
that's where you
because you're doing more data mining than me off the bat. I want the very, very first conversation, whether it be Tinder or the gym or the grocery store, that needs to be 10 sentences long each, I'd say. It's just, hey, what's your name? How are you doing? Lovely weather. What's your phone number? And then we go our separate ways. And then I start texting, whatever, and we make plans to meet up in person to sit down and focus on stuff. That's how I like to operate.
So, shameless plug here, but you and Nick had a episode here a while back that talked about, people, getting flaked out on or, plans following through. Do you think that there's some connection to the lack of, setup and the...
There certainly could be. The only problem with that thinking is these girls are so busy online. They're busy in real life, so the possibility of having a lengthy conversation isn't usually there.
But see, I have those all the time. I have people that I've talked to for a ridiculous amount of time that I've never met, where partly my schedule sucks and I work too much, but at the same time, if I want to meet somebody, I'll meet them. But you've got some proving to do. You go into it with the short game of I'm getting to the date. And that's where you do your weeding out, data mining, etc. I don't do that. I do all of that ahead of time. Whereas I've already got the date set up. I've got the inside jokes. I've already got the things to talk about, joke about. I've already got more or less a dossier of this person. And in fact, I show up to a date 10 minutes early to go back through texts, the profiles, pictures, things like that, just to make sure that I'm not getting it wrong. I'm not calling Allison Susan or whatever.
I'll do that in the car right after I park. My memory's good enough. I can retain what we talked about and generally good enough.
But if you're talking to two blondes with the same first name that are both nurses, are you going to get those paths crossed at some point?
Probably not.
I do that shit all the time.
If I think I'm going to, I just avoid the subject. But that's fairly advanced material. I'm thinking about just a little more general.
Okay.
So I'm definitely trying to, because I don't know what, I've had a couple lengthy conversations online, which is fun. If I have the time, it's fun. I don't always have the time, or I'm busy, whatever. I want just a few, okay, neither of us think we're total weirdos. Let's just go meet up. Let's just pick a Tuesday evening when neither of us have too much going on. And then if we think we're weirdos, I'm out $10 and a couple beers and I had an interesting conversation. But I can learn so much more, and I have your full attention. That's valuable to me. If I have their full attention for a 30-minute or an hour date.
Wait, how long are your first dates? How long Okay,
I'd
I'm
say
not
that-
getting ahead, but I want to ask real quick.
Shortest is like 45 minutes and longest is like 4 hours. Shortest is like 30 minutes and longest is like 4 hours. I've had a couple good 4-hour ones that, excluding the ones that we go home with. Like, I've had 4-hour dates that I didn't go home with.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had plenty of those dates where, you know, it falls on its ass, but I feel like I do enough vetting or like homework prior that I know this person before I get there. The date's just to see if we have any in-person chemistry. Like, that's what I use that date for. And so often when I've got it set up like that and I know that we've got that like chit chat, text, Snapchat, like all of those like mediums of good conversation going on, then we can absolutely like go from there and click.
You're starting at a higher level than me. You go to level 2 conversation before the date. I stay at level 1.
Yeah.
Like when I arrive at the date, one of the first questions is like, what do you do? That's where I kind of start. But you're well beyond that. You have inside jokes and shit already going on.
Yeah, and I mean, you like that, and that's what I was talking about a second ago. Is you're just getting the person to the date, and you don't have much conversation between that. And
I don't want to. I will if the conversation is going well.
See, but then you have the people who are like, well, we didn't really talk that much. We don't, and they could be flaking out just on that alone.
I agree, but sometimes the responses are 30 minutes to 3 hours in between, and it's like...
That's fine. Like, if I've got time, I've got time.
Sure.
And if I'm at work or whatever,
what if you're trying to talk to someone else? Like, oh, I have Wednesday and Thursday open this week, but like I want to make plans with this one, so I need to know if that one's going to be on Wednesday before I can schedule this one for Thursday.
First come, first serve. And
their schedules matter too, though.
Okay, yeah. And if we both have time, but, you know, one girl, you know, I will throw out my schedule. I'm available Monday, Tuesday, at, you know, between these hours. Or I've got this going on. Like, I'll let them know. Like, these are your slots of time that I have in my schedule that I'm willing to give to you. And if they don't, like, if neither of those work, if none of it works, like, it's just a bad game of, like, trying to see where blocks of, like, time line up. And honestly, as soon as I have something scheduled, I rarely back out on it unless I end up getting stuck working or something. Like, but I have totally used the excuse of, hey, I'm getting stuck going, like, I've got to work, you know, let's reschedule. And if something significantly better comes up and I've got to jump from one ship to another, I don't care.
Yeah, a note on that, because I've been there before too. Like, a better option comes along or needs to rearrange. It's so great. This is such a great window to be talking about, because you don't know each other. There's such a giant level of leniency. You can just say, something came up, I need to move it to Friday, and you can provide no details.
But here's the thing, and the difference between something came up and I'm not doing this versus, hey, I really still want to meet you, can we move this to Friday? Can we move this to Sunday? Do you have time later this week? Like, throwing that around to make it work is, I don't know, I like that a lot more. Because so often if somebody's going to flake out on you, they're just going to be like, I don't know.
They just don't text back.
Or, yeah.
More often than not. Go revisit the last one. That's what happened.
Yeah. But that's a whole different topic of, like, people flaking out on you at bad times. But, so I think there's a lot of value in just making sure that you're like, hey, do you have time on this other day, being very specific, and then, like, still throwing out that you're interested. That way they don't get self-conscious and go, oh my God, like, I just, nah. He doesn't like me. He tried to reschedule. No, I'm serious about meeting you. It's just, I'm not going to tell you something better came up, but either I'm going to make money instead of spend money on your ass, or I'm going to go spend money on somebody else and probably do butt stuff with them or something. I don't know.
So what's your minimum amount of messages that you chat before you try to make plans?
I always toss a number before I make plans. I'd never make plans on the app from the meet. I don't do that at all. We go from, like, match, chat, and I mean, depending on the medium that you're going to chat on, like, you chat there for a little bit, and I feel out that person, and then we transition over to text. And then from there, like, obviously they're going to add you on Snapchat because they want to see your story, or I always just post pictures of your dogs on my Snapchat.
Okay.
That's my favorite, is posting pictures of, like,
That's why I
your
own dogs.
I know, but that's why you own dogs and I don't have to. Like, I get all of the perks and none of the labor. But I always pass my number, or they pass me theirs, we chat, and depending on the quality of the conversation, it could be just a half dozen texts. And I've had that where, don't talk to me about any bullshit, don't small talk me, meet this time, day, whatever. And then I've also had the ones where you talk for days and days and days because they're out of town, you're out of town. And it just seems like, but if you're not talking, it's like there's this drifting effect.
It's very quick too.
A couple
level
days.
of conversation needs to, almost a 1 day window. Like they start forgetting about you quickly.
Yeah, because you know, just as well as you know, that you have other options, they have other options, they're talking to other people, you're talking to other people. Like, and if they don't know that, they're stupid.
Right. So, and then to ping back on that previous podcast before, that's why I suggest making plans once that conversation begins, to make them within a day or two, because at least you're still on the top of the heap.
Yeah, and it's like being, at the top of the heap. Like, you're fresh in their mind. They know who you are. You know, like, they haven't forgot what you look like. They don't have to go back on your web or profile to figure it out. Like, you go back on there, and I don't know. If they forget about you, it's very hard to it's hard to rehook the same fish. If it's been more than a couple days, you can hit them back up, but you're playing a long game and you're playing catch up. So there's a lot of wisdom to keeping your pool small and making things quality as opposed to quantity. Like, it's great having 100 different matches and, like, you love the attention or whatever, but you gotta, like, close on the ones that matter.
Yeah, so like we were talking about before we started recording, at the moment you have 3 or 4 quality matches, and then I just leave a backlog of matches that I haven't even started a conversation with, so that when something goes south with one of them, I'll just throw a pickup line at a match that I haven't even chatted with yet. I'm a fresh match as far as they're concerned.
See, I listened to the last podcast, and no, I'm with Nick on this one. You jump at that opening line, like, match talk, because
you let it marinate.
No, I don't.
Oh,
you let it marinate.
No, I message right away.
And was it Nick that doesn't? Maybe I've got that backwards.
Nick likes to wait until the evening or the next day to send his message. He actually uninstalls his app when he's at work, and then he gets home and he reinstalls it so that he doesn't even have it in front of him. It sounds like you and I are in agreement on this. As soon as the match shows up, I might give it 5 minutes, and then I send a message.
But I mean, sometimes, like, I won't see a match for 8, 12, 24 hours. Like,
see, my phone's in front of me at work, so
that's where it's different.
I can operate in a 5-minute window for almost anything.
Yeah. So that's not the same with me. And at least one of my apps doesn't, unless the app is open and in the background.
I know what you're talking about. I've had that before.
Like, you'll open the app and you'll have, like, 27 notifications, and you're like, my phone didn't say anything to me all day.
Yeah.
But absolutely, like, you get the match, you freshen their mind, they've showed interest, you've showed interest by the swipe, or the like, or the whatever, and cheeky pickup line or not, you've connected just that flimsy little, like, fleeting connection there, you're working on a window. Jump on it right there. Now, I understand Nick's approach, but at the same time, I don't like it. People's attention in 2019 is so damn fleeting. It's so, like, just move on it.
See, I feel like you're contradicting yourself here, because I'm speaking on a, let's see how fast I can make this all. I want to get your number and a plan in 10 messages. I don't want to have a long, strung out conversation, because
it's not
attention's fleeting.
It's not that, as long as you're talking, you're holding the attention. You want to get match, 2 cheeky lines, plan, date. Whereas I want match, talk, see if I even want to meet up with you.
I want to meet up because I'm
date.
shallow. I matched with you because you're cute. And
yeah.
I'll work the rest of the details out later.
But I hate doing that. The older I get, if you're cute and you're dumb as a box of fucking rocks, like, I could give a shit. Like, be cute to somebody else who just wants to sit there and watch you, like, I don't know, mindlessly stir your martini or something. Because that's the only thing going on is stir, stir, stir. There's nothing going on upstairs. I like conversation. I click on that. You can be a 7, but if you're a 10 in conversation, like, you're great to me.
I agree with that.
So, I immediately want to open. Like,
But go ahead.
my base strategy. I mean, not to say that there's some cut and dry strategy here, because I treat every match fairly individually. Is open soon, quality conversation, see if they're worth a shit, and then, you know, be asking. It's kind of like prodding, or not prodding, but just like nosing. It's like, hey, you know, tell me what your schedule's like. My schedule sucks. What are your days this week? I've got some time on these days. You know, how's your schedule looking? And then it's more or less like via text comparing calendars, and then you find Sunday at 10 a.m. works. Or like, and I have so much off hour weird, like Tuesday at noon dates.
Yeah.
But it works.
We can get to that later. For me, I work 8 to 5, so my schedule is fairly compatible with most people.
Lucky
Because
you.
like other white collar people and school people I work out with well. And my hours are so regular. I have almost, you know, evenings off 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have days on the weekends. And that gives me some leniency in how many targets I have. It sounds like you're limited to how many places you can put a date. But I'm fully loaded. So I've had opportunities where I have like 9 dates in 6 days because my windows work out and I'm fine, or I've had them scheduled anyways. And I can at least do quantity and then worry about quality later.
On the date.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like, my schedule is so jacked up where like right now, I've got until about 4 p.m. and then, oh wait, midnight? Yeah, who wants to date at midnight? I've had a couple where it's like, let's meet at this bar that's open till 2 a.m. at like 12:30.
Bartenders.
Oh, absolutely. The one where I've actually gained a lot of ground and like mitigated the like complications of my schedule is breakfast dates. So if I get off at 8 in the morning, all right, I get off at 8, here's this place, like, and there's this one assignment that I do at this one place, but there's a breakfast place right around the corner with bottomless like $9.75 mimosas, and like I can be there in 2 minutes, and if you give me another 10, I'll change in my car or whatever, and like I'll be there. I'll be kind of awake, but if you get me tipsy enough on some mimosas, I'll be kind of amusing. And if you get tipsy enough on the mimosas, I'll be kind of amusing and funny and maybe kind of cute. So like, everybody wins. The number of breakfast brunch dates that I have that end up going to bed, because I've got to get to bed, and generally they're pretty understanding of that. Oh, can I come too? Do you need a back rub before you go to sleep? Do you want a nightcap?
I think that's a good lesson, at least, because that's something that Nick and I never really had to think about. And
Well,
we operate, we kind of operate in a very classical sense.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're listening to this, you might not have like your standard 8 to 5. You might work some god-awful shitty overnight weekends and holidays kind of hours. And I'm right there. I do that too. But finding the time to date, actually, the number of people I find that are on apps or whatever because they can't find the time to date because they're on shift work or they're whatever. You guys, that doesn't even click with you.
Yeah.
Whereas like me trying to find time with a nurse, like it's laughable.
Yeah.
I've got 4 hours available today. Well, I've got, this much time. Do you want to just come and like cuddle? Like I'm in bed, you're in bed, we both have to work tonight. Like, do you want to just like, come sleep? I've had dates where it's like, we both have to be to work in 8 hours. Do you want to come sleep with me for 6? And it works out. But you guys, like, there's two separate worlds going on here. It's those people who are on apps out of convenience and like just kind of looking. And then there's those people who end up on there because
it's a hobby for me. It's not very serious for me. This is very hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, which is great because when someone asks you at work or a family member, oh, what do you like to do for fun? I like to mine women off of the internet and go on dates. I can't do that. And then I can't post generally like what I'm doing on the weekends because there's like conflicts of interest going on. A lot of like, oh, you went out Saturday night? I thought you said you were going to stay in.
Oh, you absolutely.
That might need to be a subject on its own.
That's a whole separate topic here.
That might need to be. We'll have to save that for like an advanced day.
Yeah, where we're covering, like the
How to
5,000
manage
topics
5 plates at once.
or more, or like keeping your story straight, or let's leave that one for later. But absolutely, dude, like you've got to keep everything straight in that sense. So now I'm just fully engulfed in that topic.
I know,
like I'm trying to shift gears out of that because there's so much to do and say there.
Anyway, okay, so you have a different struggle in trying to find time to meet. So it makes sense to me. So the argument that we had the first 10 minutes of this makes total sense. Like you're trying to do the weeding out that you don't have time to do during the week, but I have the time to do to meet up and have kind of an average bad date.
And the whole point of what I'm doing is to not only like amuse myself with some conversation, but I don't want to have a bad date. I would rather go to the dentist without Novocaine and deal with all that bullshit than deal with a bad date.
Okay, maybe not bad, but like we show up, hi, what's your name? What do you do? What are your favorite movies? And it really doesn't go much further, and then we say goodbye, and it's pretty clear we're never going to text again. You think that's bad? Like to me, that's just
bad.
To me, that's just like, I call it a flop, but not bad.
No, a flop date is. I'm trying to draw this line here. Like, I don't see a lot of difference between those two. And it grays between them. It's not black and white on what's a bad date and a flop, because I would say a flop is a bad date. Now, if you end up making a Jew joke that offends her heritage and you didn't notice how gigantic her nose was or something in the beginning of the date, and then she storms out and slaps you and makes a scene in the restaurant, bad date, also a flop. But
Okay.
she couldn't handle your humor anyway, so fuck her, get out.
See, I went on a date where she got so wasted she passed out in her own bathroom. So
I'll be back in a minute.
that's a bad date.
Wait, whatever happened with that one? Where's, like, what, is there an update there?
I've got my plate full with other stuff right now, so we're in good standing, but that's not important.
That's a back burner thing.
It's not important.
As long as, she feels ashamed and feels like she needs to do some footwork. But, like, absolutely. I don't want to have a flop because I want to see if your bio and your online personality match up to text, and I want to see if all of that matches up to going out. And I want to go on a date where we already know what we're talking about. We're already firing on all cylinders. I already know what to talk about, what to avoid entirely. And just go from there. Because then I've got everything roadmapped. To some extent, it kind of takes the fun out of it. Because I already know which way it's going to go. I already know what to talk about, what not to talk about, where to go, where not to go. And hell, I can, just through that conversation, most of the time I can plan the date either by likes or dislikes or process of elimination. So, you've got the chat. You're playing a lot shorter game. I'm playing a lot longer game. That's fine. So what's your transition? Now, I noticed that you had some hiccups in the last podcast about, like, actually getting the date to go off.
I've fixed that since that podcast was good for both me and Nick, because in the conversation, I was able to work out some of where the pitfalls were. So, let's see, that came out 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Last week, somewhere like that. So since then, my weeks or whatever's worth of matches, I've pretty much exclusively made plans between 1 and 2 days in advance. And almost all of them have shown up since, and a lot of them have worked out, all the way. So for what it's worth, this is like a personal validation of what we spoke about kind of works, for me anyways. Mm-hmm. If you subscribe to my way of doing things, this will fix basic problems. And then on top of that, I did I'm just going to keep a backlog of matches and not talk with them so that I don't overload a week of plans. Like I need to not make 9 days and 6 days again.
See, that's where you're spinning too many plates. That's where you're juggling too many balls.
Well, I start putting dates 5 and 6 days out, and it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. That's where the problem was. So I fixed that problem. I fixed the planning problem.
So
far it's
you're
worked.
spinning fewer plates. You're planning shorter time. Like,
Yeah, I'm
women love a
operating
planner up until the
super
point where they get
quickly.
placed out 4 days.
4 days is too far. 3, don't want to do it unless we need to.
Today's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes, and I planned a date for Sunday earlier today.
Have you ever met before, though?
No,
Okay. See,
that's dangerous.
that wouldn't work for me.
And I feel like, if I check my phone in 30 minutes, it's going to be like, oh, hey, Sunday doesn't work. I'm going to do brunch with the girls instead. And I'm just gonna be
Exactly.
like, okay, fine.
Or Saturday night, you text her and you get no response because she's going to go do brunch with her friends and you're not important.
I mean, at least give me a text back of, hey, I'm going to go do this instead.
They don't. That's what we talked about. They don't.
And there's so much like frustration and lack of accountability. Like, I wish I was there for that podcast, but I was.
That's okay. So anyway, for me, I like to make my plans before I get the phone number, so that
Interesting.
they have. Because I'm not gonna do anything differently via text than I am there.
Mm-hmm.
So I make the plans, and then once it's like, okay, Thursday dinner or Wednesday drinks, great, sounds good. I'll meet you there at 8 o'clock. What's your number? Like, that's it. So we have the plan, and then I show
Sniper.
up with your phone. I guess you can do Snap, whatever. I mean, I won't add them. I'm not that interested in their Snap. Might creep on their Instagram or something, but we'll meet in person, and then
I want to make sure there's no false advertising.
I'll do that if I'm suspicious. But if I'm not really that suspicious,
Oh,
I'll let it fly.
that's when you get hit with a suicide bomber.
Okay.
Like, walks in and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, there's a huge difference between, trying
I've
to
had
make yourself.
that, like, holy shit, did you eat the date that I was supposed to meet?
Like, the face is the same, but what happened to the rest of you?
Had that don't swipe right on face-only profiles.
Oh, you did that earlier tonight. We talked, you're like, oh, 36 and a cutie, and all I see is face-only pictures. I'm like, nah, man, that's an iceberg.
The worst is when you find one that's cute and you flip through and you're like, oh, that one's pretty nice. And then you're just about to hit like, and you think that those hands are a little bit too big for a woman, and then you realize you're looking at a tranny.
Oh my God. Tinder is full of trannies. And,
Look for the hands. Look for the hands.
Is that what it is? I look at a bio that generally says trans and proud or something.
They do, but if you're just flipping through pics really quick, keep an eye on the hands.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I saw one last night and, is just sitting there and so fucking attractive. And I was just about to swipe on it, and something in the back of my mind was like, I should look at this bio for a hot second.
Yep.
And I mean, just this tiny little Latina with this gigantic ass and just like gorgeous transgender. And I was like, be transgender if you want to be transgender. That's fine. That's not what I'm looking for. So as long as you're transparent,
Aha!
as long as you're transparent about it, that's fine. That's still not what I'm looking for. I'm still going to left swipe because that's just not what I want.
So I usually shoot for enough time to, after work, get home late enough that I know that they're probably free and not too late.
Okay. Again,
7:38 and almost
On a school
exclusively
night.
exclusively alcohol. I don't care if it's a school night or not anymore. I used to jam things on Fridays and Saturdays, and after my realization lately, it's like, no, I'm just gonna start drinking during the week. Fuck it. Like I generally try and avoid drinking during the week, but fuck it, here we go. Almost exclusively drinking. Because I know that my personality opens way up with alcohol, and most girls open way up with alcohol.
which is why you're drinking a $75 bottle of bourbon right now.
That's not even remotely that much.
Well, it's delicious. Well, here's... I've started to subscribe to that in the last few weeks, but not related to your podcast. It just seems like I'm running into people who just want to, like, catch a drink on a Saturday, and, like, I've still got to go on Saturday evening. And it's like, okay. Like, Thursday, I got so blasted on mimosas. And, like, on a first date, bottomless mimosas. She got off a night shift. I had to go back in for a night shift, but I was off the prior day. And we drank mimosas, went back to her place, and drank more, got pizza and wings. I don't even remember eating pizza and wings, but I stole 2 pieces on the way out the door, which is my way of meal prepping. And, like, went straight to work, and I was fucked for work.
I think if you can plan a date with someone who makes it clear that they enjoy, like, a good hearty drink, and you have nothing to do the next day, or, like, you can just deal with it better than most, I think you should plan, like, getting hammered dates. Like, getting drunk for a date, like, really actually drunk for a date is really fun. A first date,
If you've got the right personality, absolutely.
I think it's yeah, you need to be friendly, not angry, and you have to have some good places to go, like, not too loud, places that you can talk.
Ooh, that's one thing I want to talk about, like, chronologically towards the end of this.
Yeah.
Or actually, probably next.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. So that's, if you can, I can cover, I had one of my best dates the other week that she oddly never responded, which
Was this one that was like a Tuesday date?
it was Monday, yeah.
And,
But
like,
it was like,
great date,
it was
never
President's
responded?
Day. Yeah, great date. We made out at the end and she never responded. It was,
I have a lot of those.
it was great because the first place we went, we were the only ones there.
Great
and
service.
The second place we went, there was one other person there for 20 minutes, and then we were the only one, and we got hammered, which was awesome, because, like, the conversation starts getting really weird.
But that's where you want it to go.
Exactly.
That's
'cause
where,
then
like, you start talking about that off-color, weird, goofy shit. And that's exactly where you, me, Nick, like, this whole crew operates.
I think it's good for a lot of people, though, because, well, first of all, you need to reciprocate the weirdness.
Oh, we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, but for everyone else out there. But then they start saying weird shit too, like all their bad tattoos and, like, goofy family members and stuff. Like, it starts getting personal, and then you start connecting on a level
That's not
That's a
first
good
date.
level.
It's good. It's not first date material. Which, if you're there on
oh,
a
it
first...
feels third or fourth date. Yeah,
Exactly,
You,
that's
you
what I'm
jump
saying.
you jump a whole bunch of time.
Which I think is awesome, because you get, like, all the first date high feels. But you...
And then you get the fun conversation of, like, third, fourth.
Yes, but thinking more long-term, well past that, you also might sputter a little bit on that 5th or 6th date when you run into the wall of shit you don't talk about. Like, you're like, oh yeah, we talked about all the dark, weird, goofy, fetish stuff on the first date. You look pretty tonight.
You can cover all that when you get there, though.
Yeah, like, I'm just saying, like, leave some ammo in the mag. But at the same time, it's still pretty fucking cool. So, play the right here and now game, get into it. If you're playing a long game, ask her about her shitty tattoos. I don't know, after you boned her on the 3rd date and you're sitting there doing pillow talk and she shows you about what looks like a dolphin but also kind of looks like an abortion.
Or it's a white girl quote from a song written by Oasis in 1998.
Ooh, story time.
That's just the most generic white girl tattoo I can think of. But anyway,
So,
it's also rare, though. Like, let's meet up for a first date and get wasted is pretty rare. It's pretty rare. I'd say
for your schedule, your style of doing things, I mean, wasted, like, I avoid at all costs. But at the same time,
wasted like I shouldn't be driving.
oh, yeah, that's rare. Like,
Yeah.
See, what I've got, and I'm lucky to have, is there is a brewery and a liquor store and a really, like, pretty decent Italian restaurant next to a liquor store, all just up the street from my place. And if I need to Uber home and go back the next day, I can leave my car, decent neighborhood, whatever. But I have a lot of first dates at that brewery. And I have to show up a little bit early to be like, all right, is it the right bartender? Is he legit? Or, oh, shit, oh, God. So I have to, like, prep the bartender of, hey, remember last week? No, you don't. That's right. Your tip will reflect this. So let's talk about when you're getting into selecting dates. Like, do you get into a venue? Is that, like, your thing? Do you... You seem to have, like, a small rotation of places you like to take women, either because you like the place or because it's advantageous in its own way.
It's easy for me. So I'm familiar with all the spots in town. So one of the last questions I ask them before putting a time and place on it is, what's your drink of choice?
Okay.
So Okay, so really the only four answers are ever going to be margaritas is one of the most common, and then it's beer, wine, or cocktails. So I know the best place for margaritas. That's
Rio.
Yeah, nicer than Fuzzies.
And you get your 3 and you're already hammered.
And I have like fancy sort of hidden good places for beer, and I have fancy sort of hidden good places for cocktails, and then we can change venue once to like a different one. I think change of venue once during a date's really important.
Oh, do tell.
Okay, I'll get to that. But so I have these places. That's like, yeah, you're right. I could probably date the rest of my life here and only go to 4 separate places. Mm-hmm. And I would always look original because they're just kind of unique spots.
Yep. I've taken the same, like, whatever dates. I've gone to between 3 different breweries. Yeah, 3 different breweries. I've taken at least 12 to 15 dates between all of them.
Exactly.
But
they always say, "Oh, this place is really cool," or like,
"How'd you know about this place?"
Yeah.
Well, long story short, I stumbled on this Groupon. You find a Jewish girl who appreciates being cheap, and I've got this brewery with a Groupon there, and it's a $25 gift certificate or $20 like in-house gift certificate. You get a growler and a fill, and that one's actually a perfect setup because if you go from one of the 5 restaurants around the corner to the drinks, you get a few drinks in you, and then your $20 is like maxed out, and then you run a tab past that so you can tip past your service or whatever, and then you get a growler. Hey, I live 10 minutes from here. Hey, you live around the corner. Do you want to just like go back to my place and like do some mundane activity before we end up doing the inevitable? Like, I feel like that Groupon was a good setup, and I've actually told the owners that if I could get more than one a month, I'd really appreciate it.
It's a good thing to keep your eye out for.
Uh-huh.
So I usually pick the first spot, cocktails. I like to choose a good cocktail place that can do beers too, because at least I can get something to drink, and then they can get something stiffer than a beer if they want, whatever.
Like your dick.
Then after a couple, it's like, oh, well, like there's a cool place like right next door. We can go check that place out. Mm-hmm. And then you can get up, put yourself together, go see somewhere that
hold hands and be cute on the way.
No, well, sure, whatever you want to do. But then you've shown them 2 new cool places. For whatever reason, sometimes these girls have lived here for like 8 years, and they're like, oh, I've never heard of this super obvious location in the middle of downtown, which is really common. It's like, oh, you've never been?
See, that's where we differ again. You've got relatively small, like, watering hole. Like, you go to Old Town, you've got, things are kind of clustered in this town, but it's a very few clustered, but everyone knows the spots. Except you tend to find the spots where it's like a little bit further out of the way.
Yeah.
Whereas I've got just sheer numbers on my end. Oh, hey, have you ever been to this brewery that I guarantee you don't know about?
Exactly.
Like, okay, let's go there. And, oh, wait, there's another brewery around the corner. Oh, wait, you really like pho? Or you really like Mongolian grill? Like, it just goes from there, and you riff the rest of the date. You have a rough idea of what you can do, but just riff it.
So I like the change of location, because then you get another drink at the next place. Maybe you know them. Maybe you know the bartender, whatever. Get to go see one of your other favorite spots. Or you can change like from beer to cocktails or cocktails to whiskey or something like that. Yeah. And then when they reflect on it or they go tell their friends inevitably, like the story's a little bit more elaborate.
Yeah, we didn't just go to a bar. Oh, he showed me this really cool spot that, he seemed to care about. And then we went to another spot that, like, it seems like you're very thoughtful about it, which, like, if you're thoughtful, you actually put in...
It's manufactured thought, I suppose.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's manufactured or not. In 2019, like, the fact that you didn't just be like, come over and fuck me, like...
That counts for a lot.
Yeah, the fact that you put in 2 sentences of thought into this, like, in your own mind, and then regurgitated it into a text, gold. So, like, you really did yourself a favor by doing those things. So, good job to you, whereas me, I can just be like, we're at this one brewery, which number of women you run into with, like, celiacs, I don't do gluten. Great, it's gluten-free beer.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, after a few beers, there's this Italian spot across the street that I really like. And then you go there and you're having wine and, whatever. Like the number of brewery to Italian restaurants to my dates I've had, the servers definitely know who I am and what I'm doing.
That's nice. Yeah. I still want to go do beers one night or, yeah, whiskey or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
you get to the date, you've taken them, venue 1 to venue 2. That's assuming that the conversation's good, because the conversation is the fuel that keeps
that's
the engine
also another
running.
thing is you can kind of put a timer on like how long you sort of want to be at the first one. Like do 2 drinks here.
Yeah, 2 drinks.
And then I'm out.
3 if something's great.
2, and then if it's good, definitely move. Like don't get the same third drink in the same place.
No.
It's getting tired.
And you're, the environment, like you refresh the environment, go somewhere else, like, and that works. So you can make that transition. You go from point A to point B, or you make it convenient, like, hey, I gotta go. Like, this has been fun. I'll text you, lie.
Yep.
And then, whatever. But they don't need to know about the second venue. Like, you just, hey, let's go grab a drink at this place.
That's supposed to be a surprise.
Oh, absolutely. That's where I know this Italian spot across the street.
I'm going to let you in on a secret.
Yeah, do you want to know about the back room of Yeti? Everyone knows about that.
Yeah.
So
The sweet whiskey lounge that is pretty obvious that most people just never explore.
yes. So you get to the second place. Tell me how you, like, wind down on a date. Like...
Okay.
So, because this is like another sticking point of awkwardness where that ending could actually mean the tone of anything further than that. If you go in for the awkward hug, so had a date at the brewery to the Italian restaurant. We're outside there, and you have this like hug, and like you get some bad like weird body language, and then like I found one like hanging off my shoulder for a second, and I just said fucking leaned in and kissed her, and we've had like 3 dates since then. I've also had it where it was very straight up formal. Let's go for the makeout, like go. And then you like talk for a while and then, oh wait, our schedules don't line up. Thanks, but no thanks.
I think you skipped a lot of steps in my mind. Step
back.
So let's say the last third of the date, a couple things that I want to accomplish. I want to get physical contact in there somehow.
Good.
If our knees are touching,
Playing footsie.
touch your knee, whatever, like, or even if like they start leaning in more, or we can sit closer for whatever reason.
Absolutely. Hold hands, be like a little handsy.
Yeah.
Just anything.
And that's when like I've decided that things are going well.
Oh yeah, especially if she slaps
bail.
you in the face, like that physical touch is good.
Yeah, and then you start trying to calculate like, is this going to be like a we make out before we go home type of thing,
Or are we gonna make out and then I take you home?
Sure.
There's a gauge
I
there.
almost never plan for that. That's something that happens by accident more than anything, in my opinion. Like,
I think you're right.
yeah, that's a second, third date thing for me. But like, if we can make out, then we'll deal with that later. But I start trying to like calculate, is this, because I don't want to get to that moment where it's like, okay, goodbye, and then I have to calculate like, do we kiss or make out like in a split second? No, I that decision's made 30 minutes before we get there.
Oh, mine is such a feel thing. Like there are times where it's so blatant that it's gonna happen, or
Yeah.
by the end of the date you still like.
See, my mind's made like, okay, I definitely am. Like, all the signs are here. Then I can go on cruise control and finish the date out.
Whereas I'm still like, am I downshifting around the turns, or am I just tacking it and going? Like most of the time, gonna kiss, then we're gonna maybe go our separate ways, or we'll figure it out from there. But I feel like again our approach is a little bit different based on what you're after.
Yeah.
So what was the next step that you were talking about?
Start getting close, physical contact, stuff like that. And then something I like to do is subtly start planning a second date.
Oh, go ahead. I've got mine.
I start talking. There's obvious subjects to bring up, like, okay, so if you're on a drinking date, other drinking locations, you can start bringing those up. Like, oh, this place was great. Yeah, have you been to this? Like, there's a brewery that does this cool. Like, you like sour beers, then we can go here. Or
Subtle
like,
shaming. I've got a bar.
Or sure. Or since I have such a sweet movie set up, like, we start talking about movies, and then I start bringing up mine, and then talking about, oh, like, I have this amazing movie set up. Like, you haven't seen this movie? Oh my gosh, you should, because we're tipsy at this point, like, you should come over and watch this one night. and we can have a couple drinks and watch a movie.
You see, but
So,
that's
like,
also a kind of a big jump. There's a comfort level, like, you know, am I going to get raped and killed if I go over and watch that movie? He seemed fine the first time, but I don't know. Gamble.
I haven't ran into that, so like it comes up like
Joking.
maybe I stated it too sternly. Like it's definitely brought up in like a flirty like.
It's a flirt.
We should like you, or how about this, like you need to see that movie, and then during the text messages later, like we might as well just watch it at my house, like.
Well, where else are you going to find it besides in my basement on this super nice couch?
Yeah.
So, the other thing, if it's a real flirty date, I don't talk about the second date. I mean, we might throw out some ideas of, oh, hey, this is cool to do, but like, I don't want to like float the idea of let's do this. It's after that first real passionate, hot kiss. What does next time look like?
Okay.
Because a lot of times you're like, I don't know if he wants another date. I can't read him. And if you just straight up like, all right, what's next time look like? Because you're putting them on the spot, and you're like forcing an answer out of them. And at no point have I ever gotten the what next time? Like, that's not happening. A lot of times they get all giddy, like, oh my god, he wants to see me again. I can't read him. I'm hard to read. I know this. And so after we've kissed, it's like, what's next time look like? And I'm just throwing it out there. Obviously, I'm interested. There's no guesswork here.
Okay, I think your approach leaves less gray area than mine, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is like, we vaguely talk about second date plans, then maybe a brief makeout session, and then right after that, I'm walking to my car like, hey, I'll text you later. That's pretty much how mine goes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes if like small enough parking lot, like I'll walk them to their car like a gentleman or something. But I mean, yeah, that absolutely. So you close, you know, you get your kiss, you don't get your kiss, you get the awkward hug, like whichever way that you decide it goes prior, then what? So do you text them that night? Do you wait?
I might send them one thing that night if we have a good interaction or an inside joke or something. I can like, but I don't have a text messaging conversation that night.
Hey, I made it home safe. That's what I ask of them.
Sure.
Especially if we've been drinking. Like, okay, yeah, you're good to drive, but just let me know when you get home safe. Show a little bit of care.
Maybe the next morning, like,
how
if you've been
feeling?
Drinking, yeah, that's good. Like, how are you feeling?
How hungover are you?
It's just...
Are you sore?
Just goofy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, but if it doesn't even get that far, you can do the next evening, like, hey, we talked about watching X, like, you free this weekend? Like, are you actually interested? Or
get your ass over to my place right now, girl.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a big second step after these first. But, like, that second step doesn't happen without all these firsts. All these firsts need to pretty much go right. Like,
oh,
I can draw a very accurate map of what a first date, like a good first date should look like, regardless of whether or not the woman even knows it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to check certain boxes, and it absolutely has to be a good check.
And in order.
Yeah, and if you hit one bad check, you might be fucked, or you're climbing a mountain at that point trying to make, like, uphill battle shit.
Yeah.
So you've got to do it right, and you've also got to, like, there's, like you said, there's an order, and you've got to get it all right at once.
My favorite one that almost went super poorly on Thursday was we were getting fairly tipsy, and I avoid politics as much as possible. But
then she saw your magic hat.
It came up, I don't remember how, and she goes, oh my God, did you vote for Trump? And, like, she goes from, like, tipsy fun to, like, stone sober. And then I look at her like, why does it matter? Which is basically me saying, yes, but why do you care? And then she goes, dude, she lost her fucking shit. So, like, I checked a bad box real quickly, but then I backtracked and, like, it's like I don't fully subscribe to, like, all politics in general. It's just fun to, like, vote for some shit to, like, fuck everything up. Like, diffuse the political thing.
I wouldn't have answered that fucking question.
There's no way. You have to lie if it's
yeah, I
that
didn't
important.
vote. How's that for a truth?
Sure.
Because you remember, I was moving from your place to California on election day.
They will still come at you like, Well,
So-
what do you think about his, like,
Okay,
that's a whole area of the pond I don't want to be swimming in at all.
Fuck no. He's my boss. I have my own political beliefs. I hate both parties equally, but I'm also at their mercy. Walk
That's a
away
good
at
answer.
that point.
Yeah.
Canned, shut it, walk away. Don't ever talk about politics. Let's just put that out there. Unless
Also,
you
it's fun to break the fourth wall in situations like this where you go, yeah, but politics fucking sucks to talk about.
Oh.
How's your 401k doing? Just like as
hard transition.
hard as possible, get the fuck out. Like,
Good. Yes.
and the problem is too, we can go all the way back on these profiles that a lot of these girls have. They have like
Trump
Liberal.
supporters swipe left.
conservative, like Second Amendment, no Trump support. Like they put these really politically charged statements in their bios.
Like, way to
for
be a
some
polarizing
reason.
bitch.
It's like why are you so subscribed to such a toxic?
Yeah, just like this is dating where we're supposed to be clicking. Like, I don't want to hear about your
We
political
can bond
beliefs.
personally and disagree politically.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally.
You're so on point there. But here's the thing: if somebody goes liberal, you know what? I'm not. I also don't subscribe to like either side. Like I'm equally pissed at all sides right now. But like a girl who's liberal, I want to take her over to my house and show her my guns and then talk about how I love abortion and gay marriage. Like, just show that balance of, you know what, I can be both, and you don't need to be a cunt for like just being on both sides or being so on one side or the other. Because I legitimately don't like women who are on one side of the spectrum so damn far they're delusional. Even if it's red, we both come from a really red area. I don't want to touch either fucking side of it.
No.
If we're both equally pissed,
It's nauseating.
and if you can commiserate and hating both sides equally, you've actually gained a lot of ground there.
Right, but I think, like what we said, if it comes up, you confront it head on, try and make a little bit of light out of it, and then hard transition out.
Oh,
like,
fuck
you
yes,
need to
every
make it
time.
as clear as possible that this is not going to be a conversation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, that's a weird one.
No,
'Cause
you
come up
absolutely
before.
have it.
It's come up before, and I've been in a situation where, like, it wasn't a first date. I was just talking to a hot girl at a bar, and I just lied about who I voted for. Which, like...
It's cool to be liberal right now.
Yeah.
It's the en vogue thing is to hate Trump because that's a cool thing to do right now. Like, forget your platform, forget who you, like, actually care about. Like, right now, the en vogue thing is to hate on the, like, current sitting president.
But as far as what we're trying to accomplish with this podcast is concerned, never, ever talk about it.
Never talk about politics. Avoid religion unless you are the same denomination and you actually care about that. Sam and I aren't going to touch religion because, well, we lead by example. Don't fucking talk about religion.
Yeah.
Sam, how religious are you?
What?
Yeah, you won't ever catch me talking about religion. If some girl asks me, how
There's enough
religious are you?
time in date... You brought up, what do you talk about in dates 3, 4, 5, 6?
All the polarizing
that
shit?
stuff, I suppose. Like,
Okay,
that's when
okay.
you know
Okay,
where
yeah.
you guys overlap on things like that.
But some people are so engrossed in those things that, like, they want to know out the gate, how religious are you? Because I don't have, like, I don't have Christian or Catholic, or I don't have any of that on any profile anywhere. And if a girl goes, how religious are you? Or what religion, like, my response is that same kind of canned, shift off topic is, I was confirmed ELCA Lutheran, but I don't subscribe to anything. Like, yes, I'm confirmed. No, I don't want to talk about this. How's your
Right.
puppy? Oh, you don't have a puppy? Well, tell me about your vagina. Like, talk about anything else in the fucking world right now. Don't
Okay.
talk to me about religion or politics.
We ended this one pretty radically off subject, but
Right?
anyway.
Either way, kiss the girl, figure it out, go on a second date, make it work. As long as it's clicking, you're good.
Just
Don't force a shit.
getting those boxes checked properly and in the right order. In the way that works for you, schedule wise, location wise, personality wise. Yeah. Anyway, I think that covers that pretty much. I'm sure we'll revisit this too.
Oh, absolutely.
This first date window has been... I'm 27. I've been refining this since I was probably 21 or 22. Since
I
I
remember
started
those
like
days.
since I started like
I remember watching you grow up.
early Tinder days, but I wasn't even remotely involved in like first date. I was just involved. Like if I made out with a girl at the bar, that was a giant win for me. But then once I
remember
started
you
getting
saying that.
yeah, but once I started getting smarter and like so this is like 6 or 7 years of like careful refining, lots of failures. This is what works for me. I think this is nothing against what you've done, but I think what my approach is a little bit more general and more like largely encompassing, just for like
Oh, absolutely.
it's
Like I go for that scalpel approach, and like you're wanting that. In a lot of ways, like you're a sniper, like when it comes to like picking women up at a bar or whatever, but your general approach works for you, and that's what works. And I think a lot of this is knowing how to communicate with somebody, knowing your audience, communicating with them, and playing to their wants, likes, and needs, and using that to extrapolate in your conversation into the date, and then planning your second date, because all of that is what all of this last hour boils down to.
right, and it definitely will take refining for each individual person.
And
if you're not a drinker, you can use all the same stuff. You just need to figure out, like, you got to figure out where the venue is and what you're gonna do. If it's board games, or if it's hiking, or like, but like all this same shit applies. Like, if you're going hiking on a first date,
Ballsy.
It's super common around here.
Yeah,
Super
but like
common.
on a first date.
Yep. I've talked to
Hi, I'm
lots
gonna
of
be in the
girls.
woods with somebody.
It doesn't make any sense to me either, but it's common. But like the same, like what I was saying, the same thing. Like you have your unique trail, right? Okay. So for us, that was the first
Where
cool
you murdered
bar.
them on like 3/4 of a mile in on the right.
On like the stretch back to the car, it's like you start talking about what you're gonna do for your second date. Different trail.
I've
whatever,
never
like,
gone on a hiking date.
I haven't either. It's not appealing, but
Ew.
to like.
To Colorado, that's you
Yeah.
know what they do.
So anyway, let's wrap that up.
I never wrap it.
That was we covered a lot. So
That was huge, man.
cool. We're actually yeah.